This girl was curiously asking her grandma why this child in front of them looked so different, why the chest was completely flat, and her grandma, with a mysterious smile, told her it was a creature called a man. And just like that, the entire village came running to gather around, because on this remote island, only women had ever lived. And today, for the very first time, a man had arrived. Early that morning, Shaoling had gone out to fish, feeling lucky after last night's storm, convinced she'd catch something big today. But the moment she threw out her fishing rod, there was a sudden tug, and to her shock, she pulled up not a fish, but a whole person, a boy. The boy opened his eyes, relieved to be rescued, only to be greeted with a sharp slap and a rough, chaotic round of emergency treatment. Just when he thought it was over, the next move nearly knocked the last breath out of him. News quickly spread that Shaoling had brought back a man, and all the women in the village swarmed over to see for themselves what this strange new species looked like. The boy introduced himself as Jingren. Shaoling watched him eat with curiosity, amazed at how he managed to survive drifting for days on the sea with no food or water. Truly, he was lucky. Jingren was relieved he hadn't floated all the way to Japan, but Grandma calmly told him they themselves had ended up on this isolated island 130 years ago after a storm and had since lived cut off from the world. Curious about Grandma's land, Jingren followed Shaoling for a walk around the area. Secretly, he hoped to find some way off the island, but little did he know the villagers were already watching them from the shadows. Just as things got dangerous, Shaoling noticed a villager in a tree and threw an apple that knocked them down. Then, Lin Yin came over and warned Jingren not to stay at Shaoling's place, saying her home was dirty and broken, with rats running around at night, and worst of all, Shaoling wet the bed. Furious, Shaoling picked up a rock and threatened to bash Lin Yin like a drum, but Lin Yin dodged effortlessly, and Shaoling tripped on a rock, falling flat. Not done yet, Lin Yin pulled out a tranquilizer dart, planning a sneak attack. Shaoling arrived with an antidote, saying if he got stabbed a few more times, he'd get used to it, but the so-called antidote looked more like poison. She then left to prepare bathwater, but when she returned, Jingren had already been swapped out. This man had somehow awakened a primal instinct in every woman on the island that had been sleeping for 12 years, and to calm the chaos, Grandma announced a son-in-law competition. Jingren was extremely reluctant, but Grandma told him this was destiny, unless he wanted to marry them all and help repopulate the island, though it would be exhausting. Stuck with no other choice, Jingren agreed to compete, thinking if he just made them all lose, he could stay single and enjoy life. He was confident in his fitness, but underestimated the women's desperation to catch him. Just as they were about to grab him, Shaoling threw a heavy duck named Peichi at them, knocking many of the chasers down. A few girls spotted someone in the bushes and pounced, thinking it was Jingren, but it was just Lingling dreaming of romance. Meanwhile, Jingren was hiding in a tree, only to be discovered by carpenter Lingling. Escape seemed impossible, but Xiaoling caught up and stepped on Lingling's face to launch herself forward, kicking the carpenter straight into the bushes. Then Xiaoling reached Jingren's path and spotted mushrooms on the ground. The trap was way too obvious. She swapped the mushroom's position and hid. Sure enough, Qian Yin brought Jingren over, tricking him into eating it, saying it would help him transform. Jingren took the bait and Qian Yin threw out a shuriken to cut the rope, calling the entire village over. Jingren ran for his life, stunned by their stamina. Thankfully, Shaoling was secretly knocking them out one by one, but as Jingren ran, he didn't watch his step and had to scramble up a rock. There, he found Mabashi guarding her bunny, and without hesitation, he jumped into the river to escape. Shaoling came too late and realized he had already gone under. Lin Yin also showed up, demanding a showdown with Shaoling, but Shaoling didn't have time for that and tossed her aside. As Lin Yin climbed back up, she saw her sister and hoped for help, but her sister just reached into her sleeve. Jingren, meanwhile, struggled in the rushing river, wondering why the water was so fast, and just when he feared the worst, he saw a waterfall ahead and was instantly swept over the edge. Now, this poor guy was smack in the middle of a son-in-law competition, with every girl on the island chasing only him, and all he wanted was to be a peaceful single guy. To save himself, he jumped into the river, only to be flung off a waterfall. Xiaoling dived in to grab him, but Snowboobs riding an eagle swooped in and snatched him first. Jingren, now terrified of heights, squirmed and shouted to be let go, and the eagle actually dropped him. He braced for a deadly fall, but Peichi took a deep breath, puffed up, and broke his fall. Safe on the ground, Jingren grabbed Peichi to run, but noticed Peichi was still beside him. So what was he holding? Turns out it was just a Jingren clone. After delivering a flurry of "give me back my Peichi" punches, the man-eating flowers nearby were so scared they all retreated. Then came something even scarier. Jingren plopped down in fear, but it was just the adorable Ice Dundun. He underestimated it, and Ice Dundun smacked him down. Luckily, Shaoling appeared just in time and threw it over her shoulder. She reached out to help Jingren up, but he hesitated. They were still in the competition. What if Shaoling wanted him as a husband too? As he paused, Ice Dundun launched a sneak attack. Jingren shoved it away to protect Shaoling, but got smacked into the air himself. He landed on a tree and realized he was now surrounded by girls, nowhere left to run. Just after a burst of purple smoke, Ice Dundun slammed his foot down hard, but luckily Shaoling reached out her hand to help Jingren up, and to protect her, Jingren flung Ice Dundun away, only to be launched into the air himself. He landed high in a tree and realized he was now surrounded by all the the girls. He had nowhere left to run. But suddenly, the same purple smoke spread again, and all the girls around him collapsed unconscious. Before Shingrun could even understand what had happened, he was struck by a hammer arrow that paralyzed his body. It was all Lingying's doing. Shaoling arrived and demanded a fair one-on-one match since she hadn't even touched Shingrun yet. But before she could act, another hammer arrow hit her arm, and she too lost the ability to resist. At last, Lingying had won. After being overshadowed by Shaoling her whole life, she finally felt victorious and proud. But when she turned around, she realized Shingrun had already escaped again. As the sun finally set, Shingrun thought he had won, but Grandma had been watching the whole time. She announced that the real winner of the son-in-law contest was Shaoling, because back when she helped him fight off a panda, she had touched him first. Shaoling, however, respectfully declined the victory, saying she didn't need Shingrun and would rather wait for someone she truly liked. Grandma agreed and even landed a final hit of emotional damage by saying the whole contest was meaningless. Have you ever seen crops this huge? The island's only man, Shingrun, was helping out with farm work today, causing quite a stir. He volunteered to harvest the sweet potatoes, proud of having won an award in a kindergarten sweet potato pulling contest. This should be a piece of cake. But this potato turned out to be a tough one, and even though he didn't want to lose to a bunch of beautiful women, it proved he couldn't do it alone. As it turns out, men and women really do work better together, but the size of this potato absolutely absurd. He thought it should be small, but just then, Fat Duck walked by pushing a massive pumpkin. Shingrun felt like he had entered a magical land. If these crops existed in the outside world, world hunger would be solved in no time. The next task was shearing sheep. Shingrun had never seen such adorable sheep that could fit into the palm of your hand, and he kept repeating how insanely cute they were, promising to give one to everyone who liked the video. Just as Shaoling was about to warn him to be careful while shearing, he cut into the wool with a loud snip. Too late. Then came the job of milking, and though it was his first time, his awkward technique made the mighty cow very upset. His earlier attempts at work had all gone poorly, but maybe the universe decided to reward him because he caught a massive butt-biting fish that could feed them for days, though sitting down would hurt. Can you guess what this strange thing is? Yes, it's the island's giant matsutake mushroom. Watching the girls pull them out so easily made Shingrun determined not to lose. He grabbed one and yanked with all his strength, but researcher Qian Yin explained that this was actually a tail mushroom, like a bee. If it bites you, it dies too. Because they all look the same, Shingrun asked Shaoling how to tell the difference. She said to ask the instrument. Feeling humiliated, Shingrun said he wanted to figure it out on his own. Shaoling pulled one and said it had a deep dark shine and a slightly sour smell. Maybe that's how you could tell. Shingrun immediately locked eyes on one that looked extremely fake and had a sour smell, confident it was real, only to be swallowed whole. Shaoling tried again to tell him to go for the one with white gloss and a very distinct sour scent. Shingrun suspected she was messing with him, but Elder Zhuan said it's all about sixth sense when hunting mushrooms. At last, he seemed to get the hang of it, and after repeated failures, Qianyan concluded that whatever Shingrun said was fake, that one must be real. So Shingrun now relied on intuition and used his mushroom hunting trauma to find one that smelled fake, because then it must be real. Never say a man can't do something, and just like that, Shingrun alone wiped out all the fake mushrooms on the island. The red-haired girl was the island's top strong woman, able to carry 1,000-pound logs with one hand. When she saw the island's only man sitting under a tree sighing in despair, she knew this was her chance. She remembered her mother's advice: men are easiest to win over when they're feeling down, and got excited. But instead of sweet talk, she just pounced with brute force. This moment was witnessed by Snowboobs, who looked unimpressed. Suddenly, from the basket, a giant wriggly worm sprang out, and it turned out Carpenter Lingling was terrified of such squirmy things. Snowboobs moved closer, mocking her for being like a child scared of worms, and Lingling screamed in panic, begging her to throw it away. With nowhere to run, she hid behind Shingrun. Seeing him protect her like a hero, her face blushed to match her red hair. Finally, the day's work ended, and Shingrun and Shaoling went for a walk by the sea. Shingrun admired Shaoling. She was capable, dependable, did so much, and never complained. Compared to her, he felt useless and always being taken care of. He didn't know how to repay her, but Shaoling gently said that before, she had always been alone on the island and envied others who had people to return home with. Now, having Shingrun's company made her feel truly happy. She smiled. Do you know how to instantly find where Lingyan is hiding? The answer is simple. Paralyze her with 20 red bean mochi as revenge, and Shaoling used them to catch her sister, who'd stolen her snack. Just as Lingyan was about to fall into the trap, she summoned her mount, Bunsaburu, and kidnapped Shingrun with her. Shingrun was baffled by how far Shaoling went for some sweets. Lingyan explained that Shaoling had a dangerous sweet tooth, especially for their mom's secret red bean mochi recipe. She'd do anything to get them. After hearing that, Shingrun said even he wanted to taste one now. He advised Lingyan to apologize to their sister, but Lingyan said sorry wouldn't work, because just remembering what their older sister was capable of scared her to death. Shingrun couldn't imagine what kind of terrifying person Ma Bi must be to make Lingyan this frightened. And sure enough, it wasn't long before Shaoling showed up. Just as Lingyan blocked the path ahead, instead, she proposed a deal. If Shaoling could help her uncover their older sister Mabi's weakness, she would reward her with 30 red bean mochis. Xingren thought for sure Shaoling would refuse since she had already promised to help Mabi, but Xiaoling, knowing Mabi better than anyone, simply left without a word. Meanwhile, Lingyan went around the village asking everyone about her sister's weakness, but came up completely empty-handed. Just then, Xiaoling returned and confidently said she knew Mabi's weakness. Under everyone's expectant gazes, she announced seriously that the weakness was getting stabbed in the heart would kill her. That's just common sense. Lingyan raged at how useless that answer was, not noticing that their sister had silently crept up behind her. Lingyan blamed Xiaoling for bringing Mabi along, but Xiaoling said she just wanted them to meet and make peace. Just when Xingren thought Xiaoling was so thoughtful, she added that seeing her sister looking so shaken helped Lingyan realize something. Mabi really cared about her age. Lingyan began madly teasing Mabi at the edge of her temper, pushing all the right buttons. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Oh my god, you're still alive? Have you ever eaten a takoyaki that big?" No? Well, today, Chief Yin invited Xingren to her cliffside mansion to better observe the island's only man. Yep, her house was perched right on a cliff. Clearly, she had money. As soon as the door opened, Xingren took an emotional blow. Xiaoling introduced the woman inside as the maid of the Qianyin household, and she was known as the island's #1 beauty. Xingren stared and realized his imagination simply couldn't keep up. Xiaoling added that the maid, Miss Pa, was also the best cook on the island, to which Xingren nodded in awe, only for Miss Pa, in a moment of shy panic, to smack him right into the wall. Then, Qianyin entered with a surprise cosplay show. Xingren was baffled, asking why she suddenly started doing all this. Qianyin proudly said she learned everything from books. Honestly, Xingren was most interested in that last book. But wait, how did books even end up on this island? Qianyin explained that after storms, ocean waves brought all kinds of items drifting in from overseas. She showed off her precious collection, and Shaoling pointed to an object and said, "Isn't that just a toilet?" But Xingren proudly claimed it was a rice cooker that didn't need fire to work. Then came a microwave. Xingren silently rejoiced. Finally, something that impressed the islanders. Shaoling asked him to give a demo, but he awkwardly explained that without electricity, all these were just fancy trash. Qianyin admitted the truth. She had spent years collecting what turned out to be useless garbage. Dinner time came. Seeing the elegant dining room, Xingren felt excited. The first dish arrived. If Qianyin hadn't explained, no one would have known it was a hamburger. The second was ramen, but it tasted more like instant noodles. The third dish was a gigantic takoyaki, but this one could run around on the floor. By now, Xingren gave up all hope and just wanted a simple bowl of curry rice. Even that felt like too much to ask. But surprisingly, Qianyin actually brought him curry rice. Ah, amazing! So good! I love you! 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 Meanwhile, Ice Dundon had found a twin and planned to retake the Eastern Island Lord's title. His claws were sharpened, ready to fight, but just as he was about to act, a girl appeared and said, "Fighting is wrong." Ice Dundon fell in love at first sight. It felt like springtime in his heart. He scooped her up and tried to take her back to be his queen, but Kappa wasn't happy. "Weren't you here for me?" Just as their battle was about to break out, the Southern Island Lord interrupted. Realizing he couldn't win, Ice Dundon immediately ran off, but ran right into a blue deer, the former Northern Island Lord, Shuangwei Tiger. His goal today? To bring back the one who defeated him. Everyone looked at Kappa in shock, but Kappa said it wasn't him. Apparently, Maimei had accidentally beaten Shuangwei Tiger. While they were chatting, Ice Dundon suddenly grabbed Maimei and ran off with her again. Unforgivable. Shuangwei Tiger smacked him into the sky and tried to take Maimei back to the northern forest. Just then, Xingren stepped forward. To take Maimei back, he challenged Shuangwei Tiger to a duel between men, but the power gap was too wide. Xingren was completely on the defensive, getting beaten up badly, yet he never gave up. Just as Shuangwei Tiger prepared to land the final blow, something inside Xingren awakened, unlocking a hidden skill. A mysterious figure appeared and told Xingren that the weak point was between the two tails. Then, Xingren woke up, only to find the girl beside him had turned into a cat-like creature. Xiaoling held up a mirror, and to his horror, Xingren had grown dog ears. And a tail too. He had really turned into a dog. Even Pei Qi didn't look cute anymore. From the doorway, a family of 3 was chatting. They turned out to be Aunt Ji's family. What was going on? Xiaoling and Xingren decided to investigate in the village. Along the way, they found Bloodmilk's mount, the bear, sitting on a little girl. Xingren urgently asked the bear to get off, but the girl looked confused and said she was the bear, and the green-haired creature nearby, that was Bloodmilk? Xiaoling and Xingren were completely overwhelmed. Then they saw the villagers working. They'd all turned into animals, and the animals had become people. Even sashimi in the sea had transformed into mermaids. Something was clearly wrong. Just then, they ran into the island genius Qianyin, the only one who hadn't turned into an animal. Qianyin curiously asked why they were only half transformed. Could it be that since Shaoling lived outside the village, the magic only half affected them? Under their confused stares, Qianyin transformed into a magical girl and claimed all of this was her magic. Xingren, who had gone through 9 years of compulsory education, refused to believe in magic. Qianyin took off her hat, ready to prove it. She knocked on the hat that and out came a giant magical bird, and then a pair of bunny ears. Surprise! Lingling had turned into a bunny girl. Tianyin wondered why she was only half changed too. Turns out, the night before, Lingling had been sent to the southern forest by her sister. On the way, a magical light hit them. Lingling's sister took the brunt of the hit, shielding her, while Lingling got struck just a little. So what about Mazi? She had turned into a flying squirrel and was having a great time. Furious, Lingling tried to catch Tianyin and make her undo the magic, but Tianyin teleported into a tree and took off riding. Tianyin suddenly flew off on her broom, leaving Jingren once again feeling like his brain couldn't keep up. Now, there was a magical being even more powerful than Aladdin's lamp, one who could grant 7 wishes. When Jingren and Shaoling woke up, they discovered that all the villagers and animals had swapped bodies. The culprit, Tianyin, had run off, so the group had no choice but to search her house for clues to reverse the spell. Jingren immediately spotted a suspicious-looking book on the floor, and when someone sneezed, the book fell and released a self-proclaimed magical being named Mojin, who offered to grant them 7 wishes as a thank you gift. It all felt strangely familiar. While Jingren remained skeptical, Shaoling immediately wished for some red bean mochi, and to everyone's shock, a full serving magically appeared right in front of her. Lingyin, eyes wide with envy, declared she wanted to wish too, but as she paused to think, Mojin pressured her to speak quickly. Annoyed, Lingyin snapped that she needed time to think, but Mojin chanted a spell and nothing happened, except they had lost a wish. Could it be that the big bird standing nearby had silently made a wish? Now only 3 wishes remained. Jingren's mind was spinning. Shaoling said they couldn't waste any more. They had to catch the culprit Tianyin. Mojun recited another spell, and outside a simple trap appeared on the grass. Jingren scoffed that even a bird wouldn't get caught in that thing, but before he could finish doubting, the trap actually caught someone. Everyone thought they had caught Tianyin and the problem was over, but Tianyin quickly used her own wish, leaving them with only one final wish. Suddenly, the air turned tense as everyone started eyeing each other, each one holding a silent desire in their heart. Mojun, creeped out by their hungry stares, stepped back. Just as the battle for the last wish was about to explode, Mazi suddenly appeared and casually asked Mojun for a cup of tea. Wasting a wish on tea? Now only Tianyin had magic left, and she used it immediately to trap everyone inside a big box, claiming she was going to perform a magic trick to cut them in half. As everyone panicked, Jingren confidently claimed he knew this trick. It was all illusion, but as Tianyin pointed the knife his way, he realized she might be serious and fainted from fear. Suddenly, a stunning woman appeared, and it turned out she was the supposedly scary Miss Pa. Shaoling hadn't lied. When Jingren finally woke up, everyone was back to normal. Though he still couldn't explain any of it with science, something suddenly made sense in his heart. A failing student who couldn't even count on her fingers, but was the #1 expert at skipping school. Wasn't that just like his younger self? In order to cure Xiaoling's school phobia, Jingren and the others created an elaborate plan. First, Jingren lured her out, right into a trap that dropped them into Tianyin's learning game room. But Xiaoling was furious and still hated studying. She bolted out, slipping past Carpenter Ming with a slide, leaping over Xuanyi and running faster than even Ninja Xiaoren. Her academics might have been weak, but her athletic skills were top-notch. Jingren pushed himself to chase her, but agile Xiaoling climbed up a tree. Desperate, Jingren sacrificed his cold tofu dinner and launched Peiqi like a sandbag, but even that failed to stop her. That's when a new plan formed in Jingren's head. Just as Xiaoling tried to make another run for it, Jingren gave a sly smile and grabbed her foot. That had been his real goal all along. Despite her sweaty, stinky feet, he endured and wrestled her down. Finally, she stopped running. Then Jingren spoke from the heart. When he first arrived on Lanyan Island, he too hated himself for being useless and always falling short, but Xiaoling had been by his side encouraging him. Now, he wanted to do the same for her. Touched, Xiaoling was finally persuaded. Tianyin then presented her with the ultimate study kit. Meanwhile, the island's only man, Jingren, was preparing to leave. Why? Xiaoling had found a message in a drifting bottle, a letter from her younger sister. After rambling about nothing for several pages, the key word finally appeared: in danger. Jingren jumped up in a panic. This scene felt all too familiar. Since traveling by sea was impossible, he chose the skies, tying himself to a giant kite and asking Xiaoling to launch him. Jingren felt like a genius, but the moment he took off, he regretted everything. He had forgotten about his fear of heights. Still, remembering his sister was waiting, he pulled himself together, but his hero moment didn't last. A sudden tornado swept him into the sky. The island girls saw it happen and rushed over, offering advice when they heard he was going to save his future sister-in-law. When Jingren opened his eyes, he was already soaring past the clouds. Upon asking, Yin explained that chaotic wind currents made it impossible to fly away. Disheartened, Jingren nearly gave up, but Mazi said she could help. She would separate his soul from his body so he could save his sister, but in return, he had to marry her. Before he could answer, she began chanting, look out, divine soul, come forth, southeast." Just as Mazi was about to succeed, Lingying stepped in and nearly broke the spell. Total then took them all to his villa, where Mojun the magic being said he was in a good mood today and could grant about 5 wishes. Jingren Xingren, always skeptical of magic, was unimpressed and said even one wish would be enough if it worked. He loudly wished to be sent to Misaki's side so that nothing bad would happen. Mojun agreed, or did he? Xingren panicked. Wait, that wasn't my real wish. But Mojun said he had already heard enough. Send me to the island. No, wait! It was too late. All right then, forget it. Bye. Good luck. So that was Kappa's true power. In order to help Xingren leave Lanyan Island and find his sister, Shaoling said they could use the power of a great storm. But such a storm only came once every 100 years. Suddenly, Grandma appeared and began singing an old island song. What did the lyrics mean? That when sung correctly, a storm would surely arrive. And just like the lyrics said, the storm began to form. But to leave safely, they had to travel to Dragon God Island and pray to the Sea Dragon Lord. Before that, they needed a key to unlock the shrine. And Grandma pulled out a map showing that the key was located at the summit of Mount Fuji. But the road ahead would be full of terrifying. As the final trial approached, the girls on the island realized that the only man among them, Xingren, might leave and never return. So they began plotting to stop him. While Xingren and Shaoling were on their way to find the key to the Sea Dragon Shrine, they were lured off track by strategically placed red bean mochi, which led them straight into a maze crafted by carpenter Lingling. Could this be the true test that Grandma had spoken of? Inside the maze, they were surprised to find directional signs, prompting Tianyin to criticize its design. What's the point of a maze if it gives directions? Thankfully, she had prepared a secret weapon. Meanwhile, following the signs, Xingren and Shaoling eventually reached the maze's exit, but no matter how hard they pushed, the door wouldn't open until Lingyan casually appeared and pointed out that it was actually a sliding door. The real test, it turned out, was facing the four island lords. The northern lord, Shuang Tiger, launched an attack, but Mei and Kappa arrived just in time to hold him off. Next came the eastern lord, Ice Dundun, whose assault was blocked by the brave ninja Xiaoren. The southern lord, being more friendly with them, gave them the easiest challenge, a spot the difference game that was basically a free pass. With all obstacles cleared, Xingren and Xiaoling finally reached the mountaintop and found the Sea Dragon Shrine key. But waiting for them there was the mysterious and strongest western island lord, Uncle Machine. Xingren at last understood why Uncle Machine was always absent. He had been silently protecting the island this whole time. In their first clash, Xingren was tossed aside like a toy. As he struggled to rise, Uncle Machine summoned his jet tornado attack, cornering Xingren again. On the third blow, Shaoling jumped in to shield him, giving Xingren time to recover. Motivated by her support, he picked up his wooden sword once more. After all, as someone who'd freeloaded off her family for years, he owed her. Uncle Machine, understanding this, let up just enough. And finally, Xingren obtained the Sea Dragon Shrine key. But what does it feel like to suddenly gain dozens of brother-in-laws? To find his shipwrecked sister, Xingren and Xiaoling set sail to Sea Dragon Island to offer their prayers. However, Lingyan secretly followed and got there first, and in a careless moment, pulled off the Sea Dragon Lord's beard, sending him into a rage. The storm had arrived. Though they lost the Sea Dragon Lord's blessing, Xingren couldn't miss this once-in-a-century chance and continued alone. Heartbroken, Xiaoling chased after him with the help of a sashimi mermaid. As Xingren's memories of life with Xiaoling flooded his mind, he wavered. He wanted to stay with her, but the ocean offered no such luxury, and a whirlpool dragged him to the depths. Xiaoling dove in after him without hesitation. Though she was pulled out by the sashimi mermaid and revived, she was determined to seek help from the Sea Dragon Lord. The mermaid carried her to his lair, and Xiaoling swam alone into the underwater cave to pray. Just then, a violent current struck, but Carpenter Lingling arrived just in time to save her. Meanwhile, Qianyan blasted open the shrine gate again, and Lingling, tying herself with rope, reattached the Sea Dragon Lord's beard, finally calming his fury. Grandma and the four island lords looked up to see a bright blue pillar rising from the sea. The Sea Dragon's protection had been restored. Deep below, Xingren was still sinking. Suddenly, Mazi pricked a straw doll, and Xingren jolted awake. When he opened his eyes, he found himself aboard a ship full of muscular men, and his sister stood at the bow waving at him. It turned out that in her quest to find her brother, she too had drifted in a storm and landed on an all-male island called Blue Island, where she now lived happily. She invited Xingren to stay with her, but he refused. He wanted to return to his Blue Island. The muscled men threw him a small boat, and he rowed away into the endless ocean, leaving his sister behind. After the storm cleared, Xiaoling went to the shore, still longing for Xingren. Grandma advised her to forget him, as a new husband would surely wash up soon, and right on cue, one did. With a sly grin, Grandma asked, "Everyone ready?" And thus began a new round of the son-in-law competition. You know the rules by now, so let the battle begin.